Upstairs, Downstairs, 1971 to 1975, captivated audiences with its rich storytelling and unforgettable characters, set against the backdrop of a changing British society. But what happened to the talented cast who brought this iconic series to life? Now, 54 years later, in 2025, we take a closer look at their lives after the show ended. From career successes and challenges to personal triumphs and losses, join us as we uncover the fascinating stories of the actors who made Upstairs, Downstairs a television masterpiece. Find out where they are today and how their journeys have unfolded over the decades. David Langton portrayed Richard Bellamy, the principled and dignified patriarch of the Bellamy family, beginning in 1971 at the age of 59. Richard was a man deeply committed to his family's legacy and societal standing, often torn between personal desires and the duties imposed by his social position. Langton's portrayal of this complex character resonated with many, yet his personal life mirrored the struggles of his character. David's first marriage ended in a bitter divorce, and although he remarried, his second marriage was marked by growing emotional distance and dissatisfaction. Despite his long and successful acting career, Langton faced a series of health struggles in his later years. His personal life became overshadowed by his declining health, and he passed away on April 25, 1994, at the age of 82, following a lengthy battle with cancer. His death, following years of personal and physical challenges, left a sense of sadness, as Langton's own life was tragically reflective of the burden of duty and sacrifice that defined Richard Bellamy. Gordon Jackson played the loyal butler Hudson in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1971 at the age of 48. Hudson was a figure of strict discipline, embodying unwavering dedication to the Bellamy family while often serving as a surrogate father to the younger servants. His sternness masked a deep sense of responsibility, and Jackson's portrayal of him became iconic. However, Jackson's personal life was fraught with sorrow. His 2 marriages ended in divorce, and despite his success on screen, he never had children, a source of personal regret. As he aged, Jackson grappled with loneliness, and in his later years, he was diagnosed with bone cancer. His health deteriorated rapidly, and he passed away on January 15, 1990, at the age of 66. His death from cancer was a heartbreaking conclusion to a life marked by both professional dedication and personal isolation, with Gordon's own life eerily resembling that of Hudson, devoted to others, but never finding personal happiness. Angela Baddeley played Mrs. Bridges, the no-nonsense cook, in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1971 at the age of 67. Her character was known for her culinary prowess and commanding presence in the kitchen, yet underneath her stern exterior, she showed a surprising depth of kindness and loyalty to those she cared about. Baddeley's personal life, however, was far less fulfilling. She married a man who never truly understood her, and their marriage was a source of deep emotional pain. After years of growing apart, they eventually separated, leaving Baddeley to face a lonely life without children to console her. Despite her professional success, she found little solace in her personal life, and in her later years, she struggled with declining health, particularly battling influenza and bronchitis. Angela passed away on February 22, 1976, at the age of 71, a tragic figure whose off-screen life was marked by solitude, her death coming quietly after years of personal hardship. Jenny Thomasson, who played Ruby, the endearing but often clumsy kitchen maid, joined the cast in 1972 at the age of 34. Ruby's antics brought much-needed humor to Upstairs, Downstairs, but Thomasson's life was far less comedic. Her first marriage ended in divorce, a painful experience that left her emotionally wounded. Thomasson's second relationship was equally troubled, and she struggled with feelings of isolation and sadness throughout her life. Her battles with mental health were well documented, and these struggles severely affected her career and personal happiness. Despite occasional moments of relief, Thomasson never found lasting peace in her relationships. She passed away on January 3, 2012, at the age of 73, from hypertensive heart disease, having lived a life marked by emotional anguish. Though she was beloved for her role as Ruby, her real-life story was one of profound personal sorrow and unfulfilled potential. Christopher Beanie portrayed Edward, the charming yet mischievous footman, beginning in 1971 at the age of 30. Edward's character brought youthful energy and humor to Upstairs, Downstairs, but Beanie's own life was plagued by emotional struggles. He married young, but his first marriage ended in divorce, leaving him devastated. His second marriage also collapsed, further deepening his sense of failure and leaving him to grapple with loneliness. Beanie turned to alcohol to cope with his emotional pain, and though his career in acting remained steady, he could never quite find peace in his personal life. The weight of these personal losses cast a long shadow over his years, despite the lightheartedness he exuded on screen. He found some stability in his later years, but the scars of his past never fully healed. Christopher Beanie passed away on January 3, 2020, at the age of 78, a man whose life, though filled with professional success, was overshadowed by personal heartache and emotional turmoil. Keith Barron brought to life Gregory Wilmot, the adventurous Australian, in 1974 at the age of 40. Gregory was known for his charm, charisma, and ability to captivate those around him, infusing the series with an exciting, exotic energy. However, Barron's personal life mirrored the instability and turbulence of Gregory's character. His first marriage ended in a painful divorce, and his relationship with his children was fraught with tension. Despite a promising career, Barron found himself battling emotional struggles, including depression and a sense of lost potential. By the time of his later years, his career had stagnated, and he found himself increasingly isolated. On November 15, 2017, Barron passed away at the age of 83, after a prolonged illness. His death marked the closing of a chapter for an actor whose life, much like his characters, was full of promise but ultimately marked by personal sorrow and unfulfilled dreams. Donald Burton played Julius Kerrigan, a wealthy and influential businessman, starting in 1972 at the age of 38. Kerrigan was a charismatic figure whose complex business dealings and personal relationships added layers of intrigue to Upstairs, Downstairs. Burton's portrayal of Kerrigan brought a sense of depth and moral ambiguity to the character, highlighting the challenges of balancing power with personal morality. Burton's own life, however, was marred by personal struggles. His first marriage ended in divorce after infidelity and the emotional toll of a demanding career. His second marriage, while lasting, was strained, with Burton facing the pressures of his fame and the weight of unresolved personal issues. His health deteriorated due to years of smoking, and he passed away on December 8, 2007, at the age of 73, from emphysema. Meg Win Owen played Hazel Bellamy, the kind and compassionate second wife of James Bellamy, beginning in 1973 at the age of 34. Hazel was adored for her empathy, often acting as a calming and understanding presence between the upstairs and downstairs staff. However, Meg's personal life was filled with sorrow. She married twice, but her first marriage ended in divorce, leaving her heartbroken and emotionally vulnerable. Her second marriage, though seemingly more stable, was also fraught with emotional challenges, and the couple never had children. As Meg grew older, she faced the devastating effects of dementia, slowly losing her memories. Despite her significant personal struggles, Meg's legacy as an actress who portrayed kindness remains intact. She passed away in June 2022 at the age of 82, leaving behind a career defined by warmth and compassion, but also a life marked by deep personal losses. Nicola Paget played Elizabeth Curbridge, the strong-willed and rebellious daughter of the Bellamy family, beginning in 1971 at the age of 26. Elizabeth's character was often at odds with her family and society, as she pursued her own ideals despite the pressures placed upon her. Paget's real life mirrored this conflict. Her first marriage was a failed union that left her emotionally shattered. She later remarried, but her second marriage was fraught with difficulties, and she never truly found the happiness she sought in her personal life. Despite her successful career, Paget struggled with the balancing act between her professional achievements and the emotional toll of her relationships. She passed away on March 3, 2021, at the age of 75, after a long battle with a brain tumor. Paget's life was one of both personal and professional triumphs, but ultimately, it was marked by personal struggles and a sense of loss. RachelGurnie portrayed Lady Marjorie Bellamy, the dignified and authoritative matriarch of the Bellamy family, starting in 1971 at the age of 51. Lady Marjorie was the moral backbone of the family, exhibiting grace under pressure while managing the complexities of both social obligations and family matters. In contrast, Rachel's own life was far less serene. Her first marriage ended in divorce, a painful chapter that left deep emotional scars. Although she remarried, her second marriage was also troubled, and she struggled to find happiness in her personal life. Rachel battled depression for much of her life, and the emotional strain took a significant toll on her health. Later in life, she faced the heartbreaking onset of Alzheimer's disease, gradually losing her memories, including those of her beloved career. Rachel passed away on November 24, 2001, at the age of 81, her death marking the end of a life that was filled with strength on screen but filled with personal challenges that she had to bear quietly. Joan Benham played Lady Prudence Fairfax, the witty and sharp-tongued friend of the Bellamy family, beginning in 1971 at the age of 53. Known for her biting humor and sophisticated charm, Lady Prudence added a layer of sharp commentary to the drama. Off-screen, however, Joan's life was far less glamorous. Her marriage ended in a bitter divorce, leaving her emotionally shattered and alone. Despite her public persona of a strong, independent woman, Joan struggled with the isolation that followed. The emotional toll of her failed marriage and the pressures of a demanding career led to poor health. On June 13, 1981, Joan passed away at the age of 63, after a sudden illness, cutting short a career and life that had so much promise. Her death was untimely, and her passing left a gap in the world of both theater and television, as she was an actress with a sharp wit but a fragile heart, whose later years were marked by loneliness and deep emotional pain. Raymond Huntley portrayed Sir Geoffrey Dillon, the Bellamy family solicitor, in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1971 at the age of 67. Sir Geoffrey was a composed, intelligent character, adept at handling the complicated affairs of the Bellamys with a calm, methodical approach. However, Huntley's personal life was much more turbulent. His marriage, which occurred later in life, was marked by a deep emotional distance, and he was never able to have children. He struggled with profound loneliness, unable to reconcile his public success with his private unhappiness. Despite a career that spanned decades, Huntley's personal life remained unfulfilled, and he passed away on October 19, 1990, at the age of 86. His death came after years of isolation, a quiet end to a life that was marked more by sorrow than by celebration. Patsy Smart played Miss Roberts, the eccentric lady's maid, in Upstairs, Downstairs, beginning in 1971 at the age of 53. Miss Roberts was endearing to viewers for her forgetful nature, quirky habits, and devotion to Lady Marjorie, often bringing levity to the series. However, Patsy's personal life was a stark contrast to the cheerfulness of her character. Despite her success on stage and screen, Patsy never married, and she often spoke about feeling isolated. Her later years were marked by financial struggles and health issues, which compounded her loneliness. Tragically, Patsy passed away on February 6, 1996, at the age of 77 from barbiturate poisoning, a death that was ruled accidental but reflected the emotional weight she carried in her final years. Her life, though filled with talent, was marked by a quiet and painful solitude that overshadowed the joy she brought to audiences. Gareth Hunt portrayed Frederick, the charismatic footman, beginning in Upstairs, Downstairs in 1974 at the age of 31. Frederick was intelligent, quick-witted, and often at the center of the family's internal dramas, always finding a way to navigate the complex dynamics of the Bellamy household. Gareth's real life, however, was marked by instability and personal challenges. His 2 marriages ended in divorce, and the breakdown of both relationships left him struggling to find peace and happiness. His career had its peaks, but his personal life and emotional state saw a decline over the years. Later in life, Gareth faced the devastating diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, which he fought valiantly but ultimately succumbed to on March 14, 2007, at the age of 64. His death from cancer was a tragic ending to a life that had once seemed filled with promise. Helen Lindsay played Mrs. Cochrane Danby in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1972 at the age of 43. Her character was an aristocratic woman, known for her sharp wit and commanding presence in the social circles of the Bellamy family. However, Helen's personal life was far from the polished image she portrayed on screen. She married at a young age, but her marriage was filled with emotional turmoil, leading to a painful divorce. The loneliness from her failed relationship and lack of children left a void in her life that she struggled to fill. While her career provided some fulfillment, she often felt overshadowed by others in the industry, particularly after Upstairs, Downstairs. In her later years, Helen withdrew from the public eye, focusing on private matters, and living a life marked by the sadness of unspoken emotions. She passed away on March 15, 2023, at the age of 93, after living a quietly melancholic life, with little recognition beyond her role in the series. Ian Ogilvy portrayed Lawrence Curbridge, the aloof and artistic husband of Elizabeth Bellamy, starting in 1972 at the age of 29. Lawrence was a man of unconventional views, often in tension with his wife and the social expectations of the time. In his personal life, Ogilvy mirrored some of these struggles. His first marriage ended in divorce due to emotional distance and his inability to fully connect with his spouse. His second marriage also faced challenges, compounded by Ogilvy's battle with depression and the pressure of living up to career expectations. Despite some successful roles, his career never reached the heights many had predicted, leaving him to struggle with both professional and personal disappointments. Now, at 81 years old in 2025, Ogilvy lives privately, far from the public eye, with a life marked by quiet reflection on the emotional toll of both his career and personal life. Celia Bannerman portrayed Diana Newberry, the sophisticated and manipulative socialite, in 1973 at the age of 29. Diana's character was defined by her ability to charm and manipulate, using her social connections to navigate the complexities of upper-class life. Bannerman's performance was one of controlled elegance, masking the darker, more calculating side of her character. Off-screen, Bannerman's life mirrored some of the emotional complexities of her role. She experienced the heartbreaking loss of her first child, which deeply affected her marriage and led to a painful divorce. Although she remarried and had 2 more children, the emotional scars from her loss never fully healed. By 2025, at the age of 80, Bannerman has largely withdrawn from public life, dealing with the lasting grief and personal tragedies. Karen Doutrice played Lily Hawkins, the innocent and eager housemaid, starting in 1975 at the age of 20. Lily was a character filled with naivety and goodwill, often struggling to meet the demands of her demanding position in the household. In contrast, Doutrice's own life was filled with emotional turbulence. After marrying young, her first marriage quickly fell apart, and she faced the pain of losing a child at a young age, a tragedy that marked her deeply. Doutrice's mental health also took a hit, and she often struggled with the pressures of fame and the weight of personal loss. After stepping away from acting, she sought a quieter life, free from the demands of the public eye. Now 69 years old in 2025, Doutrice continues to live away from the spotlight, having experienced a life fraught with personal challenges, but she remains resilient, finding peace in her private life after years of emotional hardship. George Innes played Alfred, the ambitious and unscrupulous footman, in Upstairs, Downstairs beginning in 1971 at the age of 33. Alfred was driven by greed and a relentless pursuit of power, often creating tension and chaos within the household through his manipulative actions. Innes embodied this character's morally ambiguous nature, creating a persona that was both charming and dangerous. In real life, Innes faced difficulties in his personal relationships. His marriage to actress Patricia Garwood ended in a bitter divorce, marked by infidelity and emotional strain. His second marriage to Sheila Allen was no less tumultuous, plagued by financial struggles and dissatisfaction, leading to a quiet, unsettled life. Now 86 years old, Innes remains a figure in the acting community but has largely retreated from the spotlight, living a life marked by loneliness and unresolved emotional burdens, reflecting the darker aspects of his on-screen persona. Anthony Andrews portrayed the Marquis of Stockbridge in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1975 at the age of 27. His character, an aristocrat of high social standing, had a romantic involvement with Georgina Worsley, bringing elegance and intrigue to the series. In reality, Anthony's personal life was fraught with emotional battles and loneliness. His first marriage ended in divorce after years of emotional strain, and although he remarried, his second marriage also faced difficulties. Without children, Anthony often expressed feelings of isolation, despite his fame and success. His career had moments of acclaim but also periods of unfulfillment, leaving him grappling with his own inner conflict. Now 77, Anthony's life is a quiet one, filled with introspection and reflection. Though his work remains fondly remembered, he carries the weight of a life filled with personal loss and disappointment, living away from the spotlight and away from the public eye. Anthony Ainley played Lord Charles Gilmore in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1973 at the age of 41. The character he portrayed was suave, sophisticated, and deeply involved in the machinations of the aristocracy. However, Anthony's personal life was far from the image of grandeur he embodied on screen. His first marriage ended in an acrimonious divorce, and he had no children, leaving him with a lingering sense of emptiness. Despite a steady career, Anthony struggled with the weight of unrealized potential, feeling overshadowed by more prominent actors. His health and personal happiness suffered, and his later years were marked by a deep sense of solitude. He passed away on May 3, 2004, at the age of 71, after a long battle with cancer. The actor's death left behind a legacy tainted by the emotional struggles and solitude he had endured throughout his life, leaving him largely forgotten by the public as he quietly faded from view. Kathleen Nesbet portrayed Lady Southwold, the distinguished and matriarchal figure, starting in 1972 at the age of 84. Lady Southwold was a woman of poise and authority, commanding the respect of both her family and the higher echelons of society. However, in her personal life, Nesbet faced considerable hardship. She was widowed early, and the emotional toll of losing her husband left her with a deep sense of loneliness. Her later years saw her living in relative isolation, battling the isolation that came with aging. Despite the decline in her health, she continued to perform and maintain a sense of grace. On August 2, 1982, Nesbet passed away at the age of 93, after a quiet struggle with health issues. Her death went largely unnoticed by the public, a final reflection of the solitude she had experienced throughout her life. Simon Williams played James Bellamy in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1971 at the age of 25, a role that portrayed a young, charismatic man trapped by the expectations of his aristocratic family and the social constraints of his time. In real life, Williams experienced similar struggles. His marriage to actress Judy Lowe, which began in the 1980s, ended in a painful divorce, leaving him heartbroken and emotionally scarred. While his acting career flourished early on, he faced a decline in work as he battled addiction and financial troubles in the 1990s, which further complicated his personal life. Williams' health and relationships continued to suffer, and the emotional toll of these struggles often overshadowed his professional accomplishments. Now 78 years old, Williams lives a quiet life away from the public eye, haunted by the shadow of unfulfilled potential and personal demons that he continues to battle in seclusion. Jean Marsh, who co-created Upstairs, Downstairs, portrayed Rose, the compassionate parlourmaid who bridged the gap between the upstairs family and downstairs staff, starting in 1971 at the age of 37. Rose's empathy and resilience made her beloved by both the Bellamy family and her fellow servants, a role that Jean Marsh inhabited with grace. While Jean found great success in her career, her personal life was far more tumultuous. She married early in life, but her first marriage ended in divorce, and although she remarried later, her second marriage was equally troubled, leaving her with emotional scars. Jean never had children, a decision that weighed heavily on her. Despite her professional accomplishments, her personal struggles with loneliness and depression remained constant. As of 2025, Jean is 90 years old, still living quietly after a career that brought her fame but little peace. Leslianne Down portrayed Georgina Worsley in Upstairs, Downstairs in 1973 at the age of 19, playing a character who was modern, independent, and unafraid to challenge societal norms. However, Leslianne's personal life was far from as progressive as her characters. She married actor Don E. Fauntleroy in the 1980s, but their relationship ended in a bitter divorce, marked by emotional strain and financial instability. The breakdown of her marriage, coupled with the tragic death of her mother, left Leslianne emotionally shattered. Her career, once filled with promise, saw a steady decline as she struggled to regain roles that matched her earlier success. Multiple failed relationships followed, each one deepening her sense of isolation and failure. Now 70 years old, Leslianne lives away from the limelight, her once promising career a distant memory, and her personal life overshadowed by regret and the deep emotional scars left by her past. Pauline Collins portrayed Sarah, the ambitious and lively maid, in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1971 at the age of 31. Sarah's character was defined by her determination to improve her life, often finding herself involved in both dramatic and humorous situations. Collins's personal life, however, was filled with heartache. Her first marriage ended in divorce, and she was left to deal with the emotional fallout. Her second marriage was also troubled, plagued by infidelity and emotional distance. Despite her success as an actress, Collins faced constant personal challenges, struggling with feelings of loneliness and a lack of fulfillment. Now, as of 2025, Collins is 84 years old, and though she remains a beloved figure in British television, her personal journey has been marked by disappointments and the struggle to find peace and happiness. John Alderton played Thomas Watkins, the ambitious chauffeur in Upstairs, Downstairs starting in 1972 at the age of 32. Thomas was a sharp and driven character, eager to climb the social ladder but often finding himself tangled in complex situations, both professional and personal. In real life, Alderton's journey was marked by personal struggles. He first married actress Pauline Collins, but their marriage ended in divorce after years of emotional strain and conflicting careers. Alderton then remarried, but his second marriage also faced difficulties, and the devastating loss of his first child deeply affected him. Despite his successful career, Alderton's personal life was overshadowed by family tragedies and the pressure of public life. Now, at 84 years old in 2025, he lives quietly, staying away from the public eye, having experienced a retreat from the limelight after facing various emotional and professional setbacks. Hannah Gordon played Virginia Bellamy, the second wife of Richard Bellamy, beginning in 1974 at the age of 33. Virginia was a character who brought warmth, compassion, and stability to the Bellamy household, often acting as the emotional glue that held the family together. In her personal life, however, Hannah faced significant turmoil. She experienced 2 divorces, both of which left her heartbroken, and she struggled with the idea of family and motherhood, never having children of her own. Despite the on-screen image of harmony, Hannah's private life was a series of emotional setbacks, and the pressures of balancing a career with personal happiness took a toll. Now 83 years old, Hannah lives quietly, far from the spotlight. While her career flourished in the 1970s and 1980s, the unresolved personal issues left a sense of unfulfillment that followed her through the years. Jacqueline Tong played Daisy Peel in Upstairs, Downstairs from 1973 at the age of 22, embodying the role of a kind-hearted and loyal housemaid who navigates the complexities of love and class. Off-screen, Jacqueline's personal life was filled with emotional turmoil. She married actor Christopher Score in the 1970s, but their relationship ended in a painful divorce that left Jacqueline devastated. Despite her early success, she found it difficult to secure consistent work after the show ended, and her career quickly stagnated. Her struggles were compounded by the emotional wounds from her broken marriage, and she struggled with loneliness, often retreating from the public eye. She had one son, who provided some comfort, but her personal life was marked by sadness and a deep sense of lost opportunity. At 73, Jacqueline now lives quietly, far from the spotlight, with a sense of regret over what could have been, as the remnants of her past continue to weigh heavily on her. Who's your favorite character from Upstairs, Downstairs? How do you feel knowing that some of the actors have passed away? Don't hesitate to leave your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoy this content, please remember to like, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell so you won't miss future videos. Thank you so much.